Hello creative friends, this is Joy coming to you with another art journal page. So I found this magazine advertisement and I thought it would be fun to do an art journal page out of it. I really like the style and the advertisement and the colors. So I took a little bit of inspiration from the picture on the left where it shows like a city in different colors, and thought I would do an art journal page similar to that. I'm not trying to match it exactly, I'm just using that as, like I said, inspiration. And so I'm going to create a colorful cityscape here, and then I want to put the rider on the motorcycle rider into the city. So I have these Recollections watercolor markers that I'm using, and as you saw me there, I quickly did like a moon, and then I sketched out this city line, and now I'm trying to color that in for the sky. And then once I get that in, I decided to do a city line. Oh no, right here I actually am coloring in this a little bit, so I use a different color, the brown, to color these buildings in. And I figured I'd jump ahead because it's all kind of like the same. And then decided to draw out or sketch out like the closest buildings. And so I'm using the black watercolor pen, and when I go to color these buildings, I realize that maybe using the watercolor pen wasn't the best option, because putting color on these started to bleed the black, and it was starting to feather out and reactivate. But I end up going back over it all and correcting it in the end. So, I mean, I didn't mind, I guess, so much. I mean, all in all, it still turned out pretty nice. So I was happy with it in the end. But yeah, I'm just, as you see here, just like free sketching, drawing this. I'm not really being too particular, careful. I mean, I'm trying to somewhat get straight lines, but you can see they're a little bit wonky. But, I mean, this is just for fun, and I don't match the picture exactly. There was a lot more detail on this building than what I captured, but and there's a few more details I added that wasn't in the picture, like I put, curtains in the windows. But you can take those artistic licenses when you decide to do, your own drawing or painting or whatever have you. You don't have to match it exactly. And I put some little lines on that window pane, but I didn't really care for the way it looked, so I didn't do that on the other one. I mean, it might look kind of awkward that one has lines across it and one doesn't, but I don't really care. I just didn't particularly care for that, so I just left it. But in the end, I mean, it looks okay. It doesn't look, I didn't think it looked bad, but you'll see. So I just continue to go through and just kind of draw out these buildings that I want on this journal page that are up for close and behind. And this is why I stopped with the brown, because I knew I was going to have other layers of buildings and I didn't know how far down to come. So I thought, well, I'll just, you know, stop here, get my buildings drawn in, and that way I kind of have an idea of where I'm going. So at this point, it's almost like, just coloring a page in a coloring book, just going through and filling in the colors that I wanted to fill in for these buildings. On this one here, I started out with a green. I really liked the contrast of the green down there, but I didn't like the way it was looking kind of sketchy. So I grabbed a brush with some water and was trying to blend it out and smooth it out, and plus it was really a darker green than I wanted. That didn't work. So then I grabbed just my regular watercolors just to get some color on that building. And you still see a little bit of the sketchiness after the fact, but I'm fine with that. And then this is where adding the watercolor, it was kind of wet and it reactivated the black, and then the black started to feather out and bleed, but again, it was okay, it was fine. I, you know, ended up, it did kind of feather out too much, but I ended up going over it and fixing it in the end, so it turned out okay. And I used the watercolors in this set for a little bit of it, but then I didn't like the way it was working, because I was like, well, this will make it quicker, so let me use these. But then I really like the precision of the little brush pens, the watercolor brush pens, and I love the vibrant colors of the brush pens. So I eventually go back to those, and here I just decided to be quicker to paint that little building blue. But again, the black was reactivating and feathering out, so I wasn't too happy with that and decided to go back to the brush pens. I mean, takes a little bit longer with the brush pens to fill in the color, but again, I really like the vibrancy of the colors and the precision that you can get with these brush pens. And so I jumped ahead again because it's just basically coloring that in. And then here's where I go back over after that was dry with the black brush pen to refine those lines again on that building. And again, I just continue to go through and color and clean up these lines, or redefine the lines, I should say. And I decided to make this building. This building wasn't, like the green building was close to what was in the picture, but the rest of this on the right side I had to kind of, come up with, to fill in the page. So decided, I drew it, and I wasn't sure if those squares were going to be windows or just some kind of, design on the side of the building, but I decided I just wanted them to be like some kind of design. I really didn't want them to be windows, I guess, because it just seemed like, yeah, I just decided I didn't really want them to be windows, so I colored it all in, and then you'll see I go back over it with the brush pen to redefine those, because they kind of got lost in that blue, the dark blue, and plus the color being reactivated. It wasn't as the lines weren't as defined. So I go back over some of those lines, put some lines on this purple building that I decided to put in the picture, and decided to do some other details. I decided to put like a little water tower on top of this building with the black brush pen, and some vents on the top of the green building. You'll see here in a minute. I'm deciding what kind of details I want to put in this painting. And here's some vents on that green building. It had some kind of, I guess they're vents, I don't know what they are. So I decided to add those. I kind of like that. And then some, some other little different shapes on top of that building, which that building ended up almost getting completely covered up with my motorcycle rider, but that's okay. It still turned out okay. And here's just, I'm going back over the black lines again, trying to redefine those. And get those to clean those up a little bit. But I really like the way this picture turned out. It turned out, I thought, pretty cool. It was neat. My buildings are kind of wonky. They're kind of like falling in towards each other a little bit, but I don't really care. So, I mean, it was just fun creating this. So then I go and I don't like fussy cutting if I can help it, but I do kind of fussy cut this rider out. And its hand on the right hand side was, covered up with the advertising. So I decided to cut out the same shape as what was on the left side, and then here I'm trying to use a marker to kind of get it to blend in with the color of the jacket, which was kind of like a sap green. But then I realized since this is kind of on glossy paper, it just wiped right off. So I grabbed some white gesso and decided to put the white gesso on there, because then that will help whatever I put on there to stay, and decide that the marker wasn't really close enough to the color of the jacket. And I looked around and found that I had this tube of sap green that looked like it was the perfect color, or pretty darn close. So I used that to fix that side of the arm and the jacket so that she's doesn't look like her arm is like, I didn't want to cut her arm off. I just wanted her arm to be there. So I dried that real quick, and then I used just a extreme glue stick, which I like to use because it works really well at adhering things down. And I put her on my page and started to, in the picture that she was in, she had like these splashes, and then there was some, I guess, lines and stuff on the motorcycle. And I'm like, I'm not going to cut all that out. I'm just going to cut them off, and then I'll draw them back on. So here I'm trying to draw these splashes that are coming up. I guess that's what that is, underneath her wheels. But I decided to do it in black. And as you can see, she is blending into the background quite a bit, and so are these splashes. So I grabbed my Posca white marker, Posca pen white marker, which it works really great and really stands out, and started to add to this to help the splashes stand out a little bit more, and went around her to help her stand out more. It seemed kind of bright, so I grabbed a piece of paper and I kind of tapped on top of it to kind of tone that down, and that seemed to work really well. So that's what I did all the way around her so she would stand out. But that's pretty much the art journal page for today. If you like this video, you can hit the like button, or you can subscribe to see more, or you can leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. After I did this art journal page, I did find a quote that I added to the page, and at the end there are pictures of the page, some close-ups, and the quote I added. So thank you for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.